3 powerful tools from the teaching of Dr. David Hawkins, this lovely gentleman here. Now, I'm Sifu John. I'm an internal Wing Chun master and meditation teacher in the Ip Man Choi Shun Ting lineage, and I studied with Daskalos and the researchers of truth with them in Cyprus as well. And further, I found Dr. David Hawkins. Now, the way I found it was actually I wasn't actually looking for spiritual teachings. I'd already found the kind of the holy grail in spiritual work through Christ and through going deeper into what he was teaching. So I thought I was already practicing with the research of truth. I was getting so much experience and depth and understanding in my spiritual life. But I was looking to actually grow my business or my school in Cyprus at the time. And I was listening to a business lecture, and they suggested that I check out the book called Power versus Force, which is a book written by Dr. David Hawkins. And I started to read that and listen to that as well. And the teachings were so profound, and you could hear the truth and the power flowing from it, that I couldn't help but go deeper into it. And I pretty much read all of his books and ended up traveling to the States to go and study at, he was no longer alive, but I studied at some of his groups with some of his disciples. So the 3 main, he teaches a lot of things, but the 3 core ideas that come through with his teachings are: number 1, consciousness, and pretty much that everything is consciousness and has a calibratable level of consciousness. He even created the map of consciousness through kinesiologic testing, for those of you who know. Secondly is alignment. The second principle would be alignment, which could also be linked to intent or intention. And thirdly is surrender. Surrender, also AKA known as letting go. So, these are 3 core teachings of Dr. David Hawkins, who was teaching non-devotional duality, which is pretty much a sense of oneness, a sense of non-duality, so to speak. So let's go a little deeper into each one. Now, consciousness itself, he outlined the map of consciousness, that everything has a calibratable level of consciousness. And you can, thinking about that in more practical terms, for us as individual beings, you can think about your own level of consciousness. And you can think about where are you actually radiating, or a simple analogy is a radio station. Like, what radio station are you listening to throughout the day? Because you can think of all these different levels from down at shame, guilt. Maybe I'll zoom this in there. You can see that there, yeah? How's that? Good? So you've got, shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. So you've got the lower fields, which are let's say they pull your vibration down, lower fields of consciousness, and you've got the higher fields that expand and move towards enlightenment, peace, where the Christ was, or is, so to speak. So he taught about consciousness and how humans aren't all the same. We all have different levels of consciousness, but also things in the environment, like foods, TV shows, politics. Everything has a calibratable level of truth and consciousness. That was one of the core teachings which really changed the way I looked at life, because I started to understand that not everything is at the same frequency. So, for example, someone who's operating at the level of anger or pride doesn't see the world in the same way as someone who's operating from love and reason. So someone who's loving and forgiving might think to be kind and loving and forgiving, but the person at the level of anger and pride just wants to, get back at someone or be better than them. So they're not even looking at the world in the same way. In some countries, for example, if you're not cheating a person or getting the most you can out of them, you're seen as a fool. Whereas in other cultures and other traditions, you'd be seen to be a scumbag if you're doing that. So even countries have levels of calibration, which is fascinating. So you can find out more about that in the book Power versus Force. So if you want to go deeper and understand more on the consciousness side, check out Power versus Force, which is like I said, the book that I read by Dr. David Hawkins, which kind of outlined the map of consciousness and its influence on both humanity and the world at large. So, next piece is alignment or intention. Now, alignment links to consciousness in that it's about aligning one's thoughts, emotions, and sense of being with the field of consciousness of one's choice. Love, oneness, freedom, truth, enlightenment, reason, courage, whatever it might be. And the simplicity of alignment is really just keeping the mind focused on that. Alignment and intention, it links to consciousness itself in the sense that you want to align yourself with the field of what you wish to bring into the world, the way you want to be in life. Love, freedom, peace, joy, truth, enlightenment, compassion, courage, reason, acceptance, whatever it might be. I mean, most people, like I've been a coach for over 20 years, and most people when they come in wanting to develop themselves, whether it's martially or spiritually, aren't aiming to the lower fields. They're not saying they want to feel more angry, more stressed, more prideful, more shameful, full of more guilt or greed. Most people, pretty much 100% of people that come in, want to be going towards those upper fields. They want to be feeling better to some degree. So alignment in its more practical sense is about maintaining your concentration on the higher fields, but also as you become more sensitive to your energetic self, your non-physical self, how do you bring yourself into vibrational harmony with those higher fields so that you're listening to those radio stations throughout the day? Another way to think of it is that human beings are an expression of life. We're an expression of consciousness. And the field that we are in alignment with will be how we express ourselves moment to moment, day to day. So a loving person will do loving things, have loving thoughts, have loving feelings and loving actions, but a greedy or a hateful person would have hateful thoughts, hateful feelings, hateful actions, because not of the decisions they are making, but because of the field of consciousness which leads to the thoughts, which leads to the feelings, which leads to the actions and decisions. So alignment is alignment with the field that you wish to be a part of. Now, it's not to say that if your intention is love, that you're always going to be loving. It means that your direction of your consciousness and your expression in life will be moving in that direction, giving you opportunities to move into what the third core principle is to let go of blockages, which we'll get into in a moment. So putting it simply, alignment is like training yourself to be in vibrational harmony with the emotional quality, might be a way to get a touch for this, that you're looking to express in life. Love, connection, wholeness. So that you start to, and a good gauge for that is your emotional quality. How do you feel moment to moment? That tends to give you a gauge of your degree of alignment. So, number 2, alignment. Now, if you want to go a little deeper into that part of his teachings, actually one of his books, which is not as commonly known, is what I would suggest. It's a book he wrote called Success is for You. And in that book, he really outlines multiple different ways to get into a sense of alignment so that you can bring out your potential, your success. Because in my personal belief and in my experience, our potential, the seed of potential God has put within each of us as individuals is linked to our spirit, our consciousness. Meaning, as you start to step into higher fields of consciousness, as you start to feel better emotionally and mentally within your system, naturally your potential starts to manifest because you're giving your potential the sun, the water, the energy it needs to manifest. So Success is for You is the book I would suggest if you're looking to go deeper into the sense of alignment. Now, the third core teaching, which is such a powerful teaching, it's last but definitely not least, is letting go and surrender. And even you can see here it says supreme surrender, the ultimate release and surrender to God Himself. Dr. Hawkins would start all of his lessons, with Gloria in Excelsis Deo, which is, glory to God in the highest. It's a sense of devotion, which to me is like a very deep sense of surrender. Because without God, we can't exist. Without the power of life within us, nothing is even here. Now, that kind of provides the framework or context of what surrender is. Now, as you are aware of the field of consciousness, we know there are different levels of consciousness. And we know, alignment happens via attention and intention. What we focus on and whatever our intention might be leads to our sense of alignment. But the key detail and the way to kind of start to transcend the lower frequencies is through surrender and letting go. Meaning, as a negativity, as a demonic frequency arises, how do we release and surrender that? When you're feeling angry, fearful, doubtful, worried, blaming, complaining, or any of the negative fields, how do you actually release that? Now, Dr. Hawkins teaches the pathway of surrender, how to actually surrender the blockages that arise. So, I had a student in Cyprus and I was teaching him about intention and how to get his mind focused in a better way. And so I gave him a mantra to repeat and a feeling to go towards because he wanted to be more loving. And I said to him, maybe say it 5 times a day, 5 times 5, so 25 times a day. But he went really hard at it and started saying it in his mind over and over and over. It was like, I'm peaceful, loving, kind, and powerful, because he didn't want to be angry anymore, right? And he went hardcore with it. He said it over and over and over and over and over. And at the end of the day, he ended up punching someone in the head in sparring. So he said to me, it doesn't work, John. It went too far. And I said, well, he said, he went the wrong way. And I said to him, well, look, you went too hard at it. You went too strong in towards it. But also, he didn't apply. That's my fault. I should have taught him surrender first. I was getting him into alignment, but he needed to learn how to surrender the blockages as they arise. Meaning, if you make a decision to become more loving, it's not that you have to develop love, because love is your nature. It's in your heart. When you experience love for a child or a partner or a dog or food or something in life, the emotion's already there. The experience is already there, meaning love is our nature. It's already within us. Surrender is about how do you let go of the blockages to that. It's as though the sun is shining within you and you're learning to release the clouds so you can allow it to shine forth. So surrender teaches you the mechanism of how to do that. How do you become present to an energy within yourself? How do you consciously release it? How do you look at it in a way which allows you to be more observant rather than get caught up in it? How do you, put your hands in the air and have a sense of devotion to the absolute, to God, and allow that energy to transcend or leave your sense of consciousness? So surrender and letting go as the third, most powerful pillar of Dr. Hawkins' teachings. Now, if you want to go deeper into that, then he has a book called Letting Go. If you read these 3 books, you're going to get a very deep understanding of the kind of framework of Dr. Hawkins' teachings, and he relates it back to the map of consciousness as well. Now, just as a bonus point, applying these teachings to your life, and I know a lot of martial arts follow me, so even to your martial arts, will make you more powerful. One of the big realizations for me was, my master, Grandmaster Choshin Tin, he was known as the most powerful man in the world, pound for pound, in Kung Fu circles. He was a small physically, he was old, 70 plus, 80 nearly, when I was training with him, but he could easily manhandle 3 people my size and flick us around the room, even though, I'm 100 kilos and younger and stronger. And the thing is that he was teaching the same method to all of us as students on how to increase this power. But all of us using the same methods, some would get more powerful, some would get less powerful, some would get a moderate result, some would get a great result. So everyone was getting different results using the same method. And I wasn't sure what the problem was, but then I realized it was this. It was the level of consciousness that the practitioner was bringing to it. So and it was interesting because one of the best at it, which was this lady named Ada, she was very good at manifesting the internal power, asked one time what it feels like. She said, when she's put into the state, the internal power state, she said it feels like love. So love being one of the higher realms of consciousness. So, it was a realization for me that the differentiating factor in people who manifest internal power is their level of consciousness. So that really hit home, and then observing that throughout martial arts, you notice, and that's not true in all circumstances. You do have some crazy people who are quite good martial artists as well. But in the realms of internal power development, this is, for those of you who follow me who are looking at internal Kung Fu power, then the level of consciousness is profoundly important. understanding the map, learning how to get yourself into vibrational harmony and alignment. So for the internal artists there, how do you bring your center into vibrational harmony with the higher fields of consciousness? And then surrender and letting go, applied to martial arts, is, for example, Feng Song or let go or relax. How do you actually relax and release mental, emotional, physical, and energetic tensions so you can be in a higher field of consciousness and alignment? Okay, I hope you found that helpful. If you enjoy these type of teachings, then click the link below because we have a free community where you can learn all about it. Hit subscribe if you want more videos, and I look forward to seeing you in our next one. Peace.